Hello, everyone, and welcome to Overexposed, a BWRM podcast where we delve into the ins and outs of running a real estate photography and videography business. My name's Dave Temple.
And my name is Jackie Kirk. Today we're talking to the lovely Alex Wearne from AKW Design and Home. Alex is an interior designer and property stylist who I first met on a job when she had styled the property that I was shooting. Since then, we've run into each other on a number of shoots and we always have a really good time. Today, she's here to talk to us about everything to do with styling a property for sale. We'll be asking all the tough questions and hopefully get to the bottom of an artichoke mystery that has been plaguing us for a while. Welcome, Alex.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, Alex.
Thanks for coming. So, Alex, how did you get into this line of work?
So I started my career as an accessories buyer. So that's the designing and selecting of items that go into stores for retail stores. And then after marrying a builder and renovating our home in Melbourne, I decided whilst having children to study at the International School of Colour and Design. And there actually became a very organic transition from accessorising people to accessorising homes. So I am both an interior designer and stylist. And yes, it's been a successful about 3 years now in the industry.
Awesome. So did you start off really wanting to focus on interior designing and then move into property styling, or?
Yes. So I actually started out, I love colour and paint, and I was really happy to be a colour consultant. That lent itself to both being a stylist or designer. I started out doing more of the interior design work, working with people with tiles and choosing carpets and paints, and then property styling followed on from that.
And so what just to clear up, what is the difference between a stylist and an interior designer, Alex?
So the way I like to describe it is that the interior designer is the overall things that you can't change in your house. So wall heights, kitchens, tiles, the things that don't move. And a stylist are the elements we can, like the furniture and decor, the rugs, the lamps.
Makes sense.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so your husband is also in the industry. Do you guys work quite well together? It's the topic we cover a lot on here, so I'm very interested.
Yes. Some would say, well, we do. We are both being in the industry. We both have a lot of opinions on how things are meant to look. However, yes, I do get to use him quite often with the property styling style of things because we work with clients to create little bits and pieces throughout the house, which I'm very lucky I have him as an asset to my business. And obviously, both of us being in the industry, you are living and breathing it. So it's the discussions at night, it's the bouncing ideas off each other, which is really remarkable, and it makes both of us be better in our careers.
Mm. You've been doing this for 3 years. I know I've seen styling change quite a lot since I started. Have you seen much changes in property styling over the last 3 years?
I definitely think through the growth of social media and the insides of our homes being on display more than ever, how we present our home is becoming more important to individuals. It's also meaning that with online shopping, we are able to purchase now a greater range of options from more places. So I'd definitely say the growth with social media and online and styling go hand in hand because people becoming more passionate about their home becoming a representation of themselves, not just on the street, but we're now glimpsing inside everyone's homes at all times as well.
How quickly would you say it's grown in terms of real estate? Like, I have no concept of when people started to get stylists in. I would say it's probably within the last 10 years. Would you say it's grown very quickly? Or?
Yes, I would say I've seen a dramatic change in the past 2 years. Once upon a time, it was really to bring the stylist in on really high-end houses or houses that really needed a lot of work. And now it's more that I would say around 90% of the houses online are being styled to some degree. So whether that's just working with people's personal items, it may not be doing a whole hire, but I think now agents are pretty much using a stylist almost on the majority of their properties.
I also suppose it depends where you are, but Alex and I are on the Northern Beaches, and I can definitely say that that's a case. But I think you're right, Dave. It's in the last 10 years. I remember even in Wollongong, it was just starting to happen. If you went into a property that was styled, it was like you'd hit the jackpot. All of a sudden, your shoot was just so much nicer. But now, if with the majority of properties being styled, I think there's a lot more scrutiny on the actual styling. Before it was just if it was styled, it was great. Whereas now we're saying, well, are the plants real? Are they dated? Are the colors, is this old? Have I seen this before? It's a lot more pressure on a stylist to do something different. How do you tackle that, Alex?
I totally agree. And I must say on that point, not only am I styling houses, but I'm also looking at every house that's listed to see what other stylists are constantly doing as well. I think it's really like I work for myself. Therefore, I work very closely to every single client, and every single house I work on becomes its own individual mood board. I don't have a box of items that I take from one house to the next. I actually work with clients and every house is individual, but 100% making sure that I'm on the top of my game on every single house. Basically, there's never an opportunity to slip. There's never an opportunity to be relaxed about a house. Every house, no matter what the price tag, is as important as the next one, especially when you're dealing with and people's largest asset they have in their home, in their lives, which are their homes. And I take that on board when I style also. And having that emotion and connection to the homeowners is really important when styling. And that's just why I just don't think you can have a cookie cutter approach.
It's very similar to what we do, I think. So I've gone into houses that are styled by a bigger company, and you are kind of, they're going, well, this is the catalog, you can choose from that, whereas you're hiring from different companies to suit the house. It's similar to what we do, Dave. I think we can go into a house and go, a kitchen shot, stand in the corner of a room and take it, and every house is the same. But I remember we spoke to Neil about this. You go into a house and you kind of get a feel for the house and then do the shoot that suits that house. That's what the difference between someone who's kind of not that passionate about what they do versus customizing what they do to suit the property. That's the difference, isn't it?
I would say the same, and even I would say that there's some companies that go in and style and leave. And Jackie, as you would know, that quite often I like to stay until you arrive, and so then I can talk through rooms and aspects with you as well that I've found while styling, like this light coming through this door is beautiful, or let's open these blinds here, or Jackie, in that corner, I can't get that light to work. There's bits and pieces that I like to work with the photographer on as well.
So how does it work in terms of the process from the beginning, Alex? Do you get a call from the agent generally or from the owner, and where does it go from there?
So I work slightly different to a larger stylist agency. I work exclusively for one real estate office, and they basically, when they sign a client, they will then send me to the client free of charge to the client to create a property presentation report, which is where I walk through every single room and then produce a report with my suggestions on how to style. And then it's up to the client to decide whether they would like to go ahead with those suggestions or they don't need to if they don't want to. But keeping in mind, the only reason why an agent would send me in and the only reason why I'm suggesting things is to get the absolute best financial result for the client. So it's not for the sake of it. The only reason I'm suggesting is because I think it will increase their profitability at sale.
Presumably it has to be quite diplomatically written, that report as well, so that you're not saying all the furniture's rubbish.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, well, that was my next question, is often like an agent will encourage an owner to get styling, but the owner's a bit unsure. You know, you could go into an older house and things have a lot of sentimental value, or they might have had another stylist come through. So how do you go about doing a good job without insulting somebody?
Oh, look, it definitely is on the back of your mind, but my favourite saying is real estate styling isn't realistic living. So the same way as the way that I have my house today isn't how I would have my house for the market. So it's really not personal. It is really just about get the best possible financial outcome. So where you have your TV, where you have your lounge and your TV to watch TV every single night isn't how we have it when it comes to on market and for people to view your home. Absolutely nothing personal whatsoever, but it is a delicate situation, but it's coming from the best possible direction from both the real estate agent and the stylist.
It's really funny. I've gone in to shoot houses that you've done, Alex. There was one recently where they actually said to me, oh, we weren't sure. She said, put a chair in that corner. And we just thought, what is she talking about? That's insane. And now look at it. We love the chair in the corner. It was really funny. And these people were so kind of, I don't know, transformed. It was all, yeah, they just bowed down to you. I moved anything in that house and they would kind of come and be like, sorry, Alex did say that goes there. Are you sure it's okay to move that plant? Because Alex put it there and you know, she's in charge. And yeah, it was pretty funny.
It is really beautiful. I can genuinely say I love my clients and I care for each and every single one. And I find it to be a privilege to be allowed into someone's house and trusted during the process.
Mm.
And so you do really create a personal connection to clients. So it's the WhatsApp, it's text, it's being on call for the process up until you come in, Jackie, and photograph.
Mm.
You're really their right-hand person up until that point. So you do become very connected with clients and their homes as well. I also find that you have to fall in love with the home to style it, and you have to have that mindset that I'm creating all the features and benefits of this home for the client.
So do you go shopping specifically for the property that you've viewed, or do you have a bit of both? You've got some stuff and then you go and buy extra things, or?
Yeah, I am unique in the way that, yes, I will actually source certain items for certain homes to make sure they're unique and original when they're on the market. I have my own collection of soft furnishings, so cushions, throws, artwork, mirrors. I have a collection of those, and then I do source and hire the larger furniture items, the lounges, the armchairs, the outdoor settings. So it's a combination of both, and that's why I feel it comes across very organic and unique when listed.
Do you struggle to kind of, what's your house like? Is it easy to kind of buy lots of stuff and kind of say it's for the business and you end up having just lots of really nice things in your house?
It drives my husband insane because all I do is shop and all I do is say, it's for work. And if I don't use it for work, well, I can have it in my house. But I do actually have a storage area where all the work stuff goes. At the moment, it's empty. We are busy. There's nothing left on the shelves. But yes, it's a combination of both.
Well, yeah, I remember we did one recently and there was a beautiful cushion set up and you went, well, actually, that's a cushion from my house. That was an expensive cushion.
That was a very expensive cushion that was never meant to go to anyone's home. That was a special splurge. And yes, it is sitting in someone's property in their garden right now because it was just the perfect cushion for their little bench and I couldn't help myself.
Yeah, it looked really good.
It's interesting, though, that you say that you firstly you go through and do a report and you're essentially buying extra things for a particular property. Because I think a few years ago, I'm not sure if you experienced this, Jackie, I went through a stage where I could walk into a property and immediately tell it had been styled because it kind of looked the same as all the others. But I think we've probably, I mean, you tell me if I'm wrong, but we've kind of gone past that stage now of the sort of standard.
Yeah, my absolute pet hate is being able to see repetition in homes, and it drives me insane. And it can be done. I can see on listings, oh, I know who that was. I know who styled that because I've seen that cushion 5 times before.
Yeah.
Or the half-filled glass of water, that's a trademark for some of them. That's quite a funny one. Yeah, I think that's something you genuinely do beautifully, Alex, as you go in and you'll perhaps use some of the things that owners have, but it all looks different. It doesn't seem like a specific style. It doesn't seem like it's just off some Pinterest board. It's all very unique.
I love hearing that because I always say, my saying is, I would like people to walk in, potential buyers to walk into the home and say, wow, this home is beautifully lived in, rather than, wow, this home is beautifully styled. That is always my number one goal in styling. I want people not to come in and say, oh, wow, it's been styled. I want them to say, wow, they live so beautifully in this home.
Well, it makes my life very difficult because I go into one and then I just become increasingly dissatisfied with my own home. I come home very annoyed most times.
I'm the same.
You need to hire Alex.
Yeah, well, it's also the biggest compliment I give to owners as well. When you do have an owner who hasn't styled their property, who's done a beautiful job of it, I say, oh, is this property styled? Because
that's right.
Yeah, makes them feel good. So on that note, because you do different sorts of things, you go in where you just tell them what to do and that's it, or you go in and you do a partial style versus a full style. Can you explain the difference to all of those? And also, do buyers prefer one version to another?
in regards to the buyers, I suppose that would probably be the real estate agents would probably receive more feedback than others, but I do believe a partial style is the perfect mix, and that is when we work with half of the homeowner's personal items and we will hire in additional items. So that may be, oh, look, we'll work with your bed, but we'll hire bedside tables and lamps, or well, let's keep your dining table and then we'll add new and fresh dining chairs. That's my personal favourite. I feel like that gives a really authentic look to the styling of the home.
Probably feels less overwhelming as well to a homeowner. I imagine you come in here and you go, we can keep the bed, we'll get the bedside tables. It's much easier to kind of wrap your head around than having to get rid of everything.
I would say the majority of stylists like an empty home because then it's just easy. It is easier just to go, I know what the size of the bed is. I know the sizes of the lamps and things like that, rather than going, oh, how big was that lounge? How big was that coffee table? So an empty home is great as well because you have a fresh palette and you can just do whatever you like. I know that recently, Jackie, we worked in a house and everyone loved the artworks, and it was actually an empty house and I was able to do a full style. And I said, I have been wanting to use those artworks for so long. I've just been waiting and waiting. And the only reason I could use them was because I was able to start from scratch. So it's very hard sometimes to implement when there's styles already there, or change a style also with those, items.
You might be then restricted to the colours you can use, I suppose, with the artworks already on the wall and that sort of thing. So you're making the best instead of doing.
I tend to also like to work with homeowners on what they do like. I don't want them to have to walk into their home and not like it. That's also important. However, sometimes what homeowners like and what potential buyers like aren't the same thing, and the goal is to appeal to the largest range of buyers possible, because that's going to get you the best result.
So for someone who's doesn't want to go the whole hog, are there like some common things? What's the most common things you would say for homeowners listening to this podcast and they go, I don't want to do full styling, or they might be somewhere rural where there's no stylists about? What are the most common things you tell people to change on a partial style or just on the advice sort of style?
If you don't want to work with a stylist and you don't really have the budget for a stylist, a few little tips would be, first of all, I do see the importance of having a cleaner come in and just help you clean, because it is the cracks on the doors, it's the tracks on the windows, it's the plantation shutters, a proper deep clean, gurneying the front driveway, gurneying your front steps. Get someone in to help you. It is preparing your home for sale is hard work. It is not easy. Get help where you can. It would definitely be beneficial. On a more styling point of view with the house, the power of cushions.
Dave's got his head in his hands.
If you have an old lounge, if your bed is looking a bit tiresome, take yourself up to the local super centre, the homeware store, and buy 10 cushions. Don't buy 2, don't buy 4, buy 10. Buy 10 matching light coloured cushions that are feather filled. That's my tip, feather filled for a great karate chop cushion. And the power of cushions will help give your house a facelift.
Dave, that's the podcast title right there, The Power of Cushions.
Yeah, exactly right.
The Power of Cushions. That's so funny. I wonder what it is. I love a cushion. My husband hates them, doesn't see the point. I don't think I've ever met, I'm sorry if it's sexist, I'm really sorry if this is generalizing. I have never met a man who appreciates cushions.
I must say, in our house, if you touch a cushion, get out.
I think it's interesting when we obviously see a lot of houses, Jackie, where there's either just a woman living there or just a guy living there, and the guys' ones are always very, generally speaking, always very utilitarian. I've got a sofa because I bought it in 1970 and it still works, so therefore, why would I need a new one?
Correct.
Yeah. Whereas in women's homes, if they're living there, there's a lot of cushions going on. So it does seem to be split by sex.
I feel like I spend my life picking up cushions that have been discarded on the floor very rudely by children and husbands. How many cushions do you reckon you have, Alex?
Personally, I easily would have upwards of 150 towards 200 cushions. in my storage area. At the moment, those shelves are empty. They're all in houses. And they seem to disappear. I'll think I have 20 cushions for this house, that'll be enough, and I need more. I always need more. There's never enough. There's always an old garden bench that needs a cushion. There's always a dodgy bed somewhere that needs a cushion. And it's not one. You need to use them in a pod. So it's 3 of differing shapes, sizes, colours, textures, and we use them together.
What's the current fashion for arranging cushions? Because we went through the stages of having some flat ones next to some upright ones. Is that still the thing?
Correct. I must say again, an oblong cushion is one of my favourite tools at the moment. Oblongs, so using a range of squares and a lovely oblong feature cushion at the front, whether it's a velvet or things like that. But I do like an oblong, and it helps people if you're styling by yourself at home. An oblong will cover up a multitude of sins behind it. So if you can't fold your doona correctly, or if you can't position them correctly, just put a lovely big oblong in front of all the others and it will look fantastic.
And when you're doing colours, I feel like I'm cheating now. I'm just getting advice for my own home. But do you choose an artwork and then try and work around the artwork for your colour palette, or how do you go about? Because I've tried to do it with my house, and I just get really overwhelmed and end up going neutral and too neutral.
So we are lucky. Jackie and I live on Sydney's northern beaches, and so we live in an area that is surrounded by a beautiful landscape. And personally, I always try to use what we see outside our windows, green trees, blue skies, whatever you kind of the aspect of your house. I like to pull those in through styling, sages, light blues, navies, those type of colours. Otherwise, if you do have a spectacular artwork that you do love, that is a really good suggestion, Jackie. That's where you can start with. So whatever makes you happy should be throughout your home. So a lot of people love what they look at when they wake up in the morning out their window. Use that as your base. If you have a beautiful artwork that you love, use that. So it's just choosing those type of features.
So what's something that you see all the time that drives you mad?
Oh, I don't know if anything particularly drives me mad, but people do obviously keep things because they feel it's sentimental, but it doesn't work and it isn't love, and it's just there for being there for the sake of it. So it's not useful in the house. It doesn't suit their house, but they don't feel they can get rid of it. And that's a really hard thing to style around as well. So those large, bulky trunks, or that was handed down. So I
just thought you were talking about my husband, not useful in the house, doesn't suit the house, don't quite feel like I can get rid of it.
Those items, they're always more of an obstacle when it comes to stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so like big, bulky trunks and things.
One of the things that drives me mad is old or classic furniture in a brand new modern house.
Yeah.
When you've got doilies and solar panels at the same time, it's not good.
Do you know what annoys me is leather lounges? I know they can look nice, but you can't stand a cushion up on a leather lounge. No. You just end up with these slippery cushions. Drives me nuts.
Also, though, a large obstacle is the gaming rooms. So a teenager's room, we can't touch his desk. It's the gaming setup. And as you know, gaming never photographs well, does it? But that's always a large obstacle as well. Gaming, Xbox rooms, and they're actually becoming more common in houses. There'll be like a room dedicated to gaming, which is hard to work around.
Do you have a favourite room to style?
Bedrooms are really easy to look fantastic. So I find their bedrooms are a great room to work on. They can be a multitude of colours. You can use pinks, you can use purples, you can use blues. I'm not afraid to not go white. But there isn't a particular room. I find the kitchen sometimes can be the hardest to be unique and original, trying not to be, here is the cooking book, here is the mortar and pestle, here is the clam full of lemons. So I'm trying to always make sure in the kitchen that I'm thinking of new ways to style a kitchen. At the moment, I'm loving jars full of fresh biscuits.
Oh, me too.
Which is also a gift.
Yeah.
A gift to the homeowners.
Yeah, you'll get no argument here.
Yes.
It's actually really hard.
You mean jars half full of biscuits?
Yeah, that's right.
That's as a photographer, you go in, you say, this looks a little bit too staged, we better lose a few But I've got to say, like, Alex goes to the extent of even kind of matching the biscuits to the room. So we'll go into the kitchen. She's like, this kitchen is just a meringue kitchen. And so it's very tempting.
Yeah, sometimes there's a lemon drop with a little bit of yellow. And then I always say to the homeowner, because once I've styled, once you're photographed, they can have a little bit of a breath and a sigh of relief. And I say, sit down, have a cup of tea or a glass of wine and open up those cookie jars. And have a look forward.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, that's really lovely.
So which it is nice. But make sure they're full again, ready for Saturday, please, when people come through.
And I see a lot of owners, when they do things themselves, can sometimes go too far. I think it's hard to find the balance of enough but not too much. So I think something that I'm not a huge fan on, people will do a full dinner setting on their table with like 3 stacked plates, 2 glasses, and it's like they're setting a meal for the Queen, and it just becomes, the photo just becomes all about this table setting.
A common theme with people is they feel like the best their house looks is at Christmas time or when they're entertaining. So they think, oh, don't worry, I know how to do it. Everyone comes over and thinks it's beautiful on Christmas Day, so I'll put out all my plates and sauces like I do then. And it's like, no, we don't need to cluster the photos that look like that. Yeah.
So for photographers out there, photographers going into a house that's styled, I think the temptation can often be to say, well, the house is styled, I don't need to move anything. Are there still things that you think it's really important for photographers to look out for when a property is styled?
Absolutely. There was a house that was recently photographed, and I had a large cheese board and fresh flowers and items on the kitchen bench, and I had it positioned so when the buyers came through, it was the first thing they saw, but it was a dusk shot. So then I moved the position of it so that it would be included in the dusk photos. And then they didn't move it back to where it was meant to be. And so I could see in the photos it was in the incorrect spot. I've looked at the photo about 5 times. Please, as photographers, don't hesitate to reposition a few things. I know that, Jackie, you and I always reposition things for photos and then move them back for opens. It's 2 different aspects.
Yeah. I think, just as a caveat, that wasn't me. I didn't shoot that.
No, it wasn't Jackie. It wasn't Jackie. Everyone.
It was me. But I do find that you'll shoot an angle and you'll have something on the coffee table, and then you'll go and do an angle from the opposite side of the room. You need to still rotate those things so that you're looking towards them. Something that we've been doing recently that makes a huge difference is balconies. People will have an L-shaped setup, and when we just divide the lounges so that you're not looking at the back of the lounge, you're kind of looking through them, and they're facing each other. It's not necessarily how you would sit and look at the view, but for the photo, it looks better. And we'll put it back for the open homes because it kind of suits the opens better. But moving those things.
Very often, people get very concerned when I set up armchairs on a deck and I have the back of the armchair facing the view so that we're ready for you to take a photo, the front of the chairs looking. And I don't think I've ever started a job where I haven't had to say to the homeowners, don't worry, we are going to change this. This is just for the photos. We have them. And then they say, that makes so much sense now. But it's just those repositions, and having a photographer that has the confidence and the flexibility to chat through those changes. And I'm happy to make those changes with photos because all we are doing is trying to get the best outcome for the client, always.
I think that makes a big difference. I think having a good relationship with the stylist you're working at, a lot of stylists don't come to the photo shoots, so then you're just kind of on your own and you move your own things. But often the stylists do come to the photo shoots. Being able to have a good relationship with that stylist, like I do with you, Alex, so we could say, hey, should we move that? I know no one's getting offended. It's not difficult.
Right.
And it just helps that shoot to be a bit more efficient, go a bit faster as well.
Correct. And it's also great to have feedback from you. You're going to a range of properties. What do you feel? What do when you walk in, you go, oh, okay, it's looking a bit dark or it's looking this. I take that feedback on board, quickly throw in a few extra items or a few different colours and tones, which is always really important.
Yeah, for sure.
I find cushions is one of the things that gets moved around often when I'm doing shoots because, they might be down the wrong end of the sofa, so you have to move them for a particular shot, move them back. There's nothing worse for me anyway than seeing a huge pile of cushions right at the front of the shot that, blocks the room or blocks the sofa. So,
Yeah.
Exactly. just making them face towards you. It's those little, I think that was a big difference it made for me as I got more experience. When I started, I'd go into a house and it's styled and just really shoot it as is, and you kind of take it for granted, but you're still repositioning things to suit the photo and to suit the angles that you're taking. It's something that the agents notice too. Alex, what about trends? Do you have a favorite trend, or is there a timeless style that you lean towards? I know you don't really do cookie cutter or set things, but yeah, what are your favorite trends and most timeless styles?
Yeah, so timeless styles, mid-century for me is always fantastic. It can be in a range of homes. It can be in an affordable homes. It can be really high end. It always seems to work if it's done well. But also, as everyone knows, that Cape Cod and Hampton style is really easy to get right in a home. It's always fresh. It's always clean, and it never disappoints. So those two like styles in a house, it really can't go wrong. But I'm a big believer in being unique, and that you should be shopping from a range of home stores to create your own unique and individual style.
I think it's interesting as well. I think we're very hyper aware to trends getting old. So because we see so many homes, I know my mum will walk in and she'll go, "Oh, I love that gigantic photo of a bison." And it's like, oh my God, if I see another
Oh
bison.
no! Yeah.
So, but the buyers aren't seeing that many homes, so they might, really appreciate the bowl of shells. But for us, it's like the 200th bowl of
Correct,
shells we've
absolutely.
seen. So, yeah, I guess trying not to be stuck with trends, but also remembering that, most buyers haven't seen them all.
Yeah, you're spot on. But I think within the home, it's just about being unique and individual. A big no-no, what I can notice in a lot of homes, is obviously the homeowner's gotten a favourite shop and they've bought a lot of things from the same shop. So it's like, oh, wow, this home is sponsored by Adairs. Every single room is Adairs, and every single cushion and every single rug. So that's a really big thing to try and avoid.
Mm.
And I know that when you're really hectic and you think my house is going to the market, I'll just run up there and I'll grab everything they've got there. Just differentiate a little. Go to a few different shops, go shop around a little bit. It will help. It'll help create a more approach.
Good old Kmart. We see a lot of, although that said, Kmart has a lot of good vases and things like that. I think you can get away with those because they are quite neutral. And if you get from a range of shops, you can still sneak some nice old Kmart in there.
Yeah, I must say, Kmart for their rugs, I definitely would say to people, rugs are really expensive, but they do make a huge difference in homes, and Kmart is a great asset for rugs.
Yeah, I've definitely got a couple of those.
What would you say, Alex, is the change that you make that blows people away most consistently, or the room that you change that blows people away most consistently?
I think when I have moving around people's lounge rooms and living rooms, so they've had their lounge in the same position, and when I update and change that, it does blow people away. It has the most impact, it has the most change, and that's where I get the feedback of, we wish you were here 10 years ago. I wish we were living here like this. Why didn't we have you in earlier? Can you please come to our next house with us and make sure that you do that here? I think that's the room where it changes the most, because that's the room where you spend a lot of time in, and people, you just do get used to how you live. And just having someone come in with a differing, fresh eyes and approach can be changed. World of difference.
So does anyone ever get their property styled and decide not to sell?
Happened to me twice, Jackie, 2 times. And
wow,
there's a little bit of guilt because obviously I come in with the agent and then I have to say, I'm so sorry. But also it is, wow, it's a fantastic feel. And it was more, both times it was people that they were trying to sell because they just didn't feel the house had what they needed, and it just needed a change. And change is as good as a holiday.
So what were the changes? What did you do? That's so interesting.
I think a lot of people get stuck once they have kids with thinking they don't have enough room for toys and things like that. So, creating more space in the home for kid areas and kid toy storage. There's a large trend at the moment with mudroom areas. So that is having like a little space near a front door where you can store school bags and shoes and items like that. And it's a really easy area to renovate and can be quite cost effective. Making those little changes for people just make the way of living more effective. So that's probably where a little bit of the interior designer comes out as well. So those type of changes, and they've said, actually, we're just going to stay and see how we go rather than sell.
How do the agents respond to that? Do they get annoyed?
I don't think they get annoyed because you've made their client happy, and whether they may not be on the market now, they will be on the market maybe eventually one day. But I think I'm a tool for the agent and I'm part of their team. So they've suggested it, so it's good on them as well.
It always amazes me that you can walk into places and almost see the decade that they stopped buying things for the house.
I know. That makes me sad.
I've walked into places before that it looks like someone's walked out in the 60s and never gone back.
I know.
And it's not people's fault. If you can't do interior design and styling, then you can't do it. So having that fresh eye and someone just moving things around and updating it is a great help.
I definitely find it interesting how different regions or different areas have a set style. So, we look at our photographer in Noosa, you look at a lot of the Noosa houses, and there is a very specific look for Noosa. There's a lot of leather. That's all I'm saying. But
absolutely, and the Gold Coast has become so much more popular, and their style as well. They have a lot of stonework happening up there in interior design ways, stone and white external housing up there as well. I often, I'm the same. A lot of good and emerging homeware stores also are coming up in Queensland, which is great.
Same as like the Byron Bay style. It's just really interesting. So how different areas, it becomes an area like just for that neighborhood. I suppose we're all shopping from the same. I suppose it's because we're all shopping from the same shops, but it is interesting.
Following the same Instagram accounts. I find now I do most of my research on my phone, on Instagram and on Pinterest. So it is, and then there's now links. You can see something and you can Google search an image that you see and it'll bring up all the shops where you can purchase it from. So it is quite amazing how that has developed styling and interior design so much as well.
So what are the common mistakes that you see people making when they style their own home?
I just touched on it briefly, but I think overstyling and buying too much from that one store would be my number one.
Yeah.
Number one, point of regret for people when they've tried their best to purchase everything and they've just bought too much from one store because you don't have time. It's a really stressful, whilst you're doing the lawns and cleaning the kitchen and getting the kids' stuff out of the bathrooms, it's really hard to go around to 5 or 6 different stores. So that is a common mistake. And then I must say, no, it's all right, I'll clean it. You have a lot to do. You have a lot to do on the day. Get in a team of cleaners, even just before that first open. Clean the windows, clean the windowsills. So not having your home perfectly clean. I would say, photographers, you would probably see that as well. There are some things we can find.
I would say particularly windows. Yeah. Windows just make such a huge difference to us, having the windows cleaned.
Yeah, and don't go to Kmart for everything.
But some things.
Going back to that, though, it is very difficult from a homeowner's perspective because you go to places like IKEA, for example, and they literally set up a whole room that you can essentially just point at and buy. So, and it takes a lot of confidence to go, I want that bit, but not that bit. So it is tricky.
It is tricky.
That's why I get the pros in, like Alex,
stylist,
I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's right.
So what about people say neutral colours. For selling a house, go for neutral colours. What do you think about that, Alex? Should everything be neutral?
So using neutrals in areas to expand the size. So using a neutral on a bed, yes, huge tool. Using neutral paint colours inside, yes, huge tool, because sometimes a feature wall just doesn't correspond in photos. However, I love colour. I don't think it always needs to be neutral. Cooking books, dining table, cushions and chairs. I think colour is emerging. I think colour is a large trend at the moment. The only place I would say is to not use colour is in your flowers. I do like and stick tend to stick to light coloured flowers because if you buy a big bunch of red roses, that is the first thing your eye is going to look at in the photo. So yes and no. I don't think everything has to be neutral, no. But if you're styling yourself and you haven't had a stylist in, I would probably say 9 out of 10 times it does mean you need some neutral cushions. Yes. So, it's a 50-50.
Okay. So, Alex, what are some of the most memorable moments that you've had doing this?
So I've been able to work in some incredible homes, but I would say one of my first homes I ever styled, I just happened to be carrying an original David Bromley artwork, moving its position, and after the home owner came in, I realised it was probably worth about $150,000. I would not have touched it if I had known. That's happened a few times. I've also worked in a home with some original Andy Warhols.
Wow.
Yeah, quite a memorable moment. But I would definitely say the homes upwards of 10 million. Working on a home of that calibre is really spectacular and special. Being allowed in the front door, let alone to move everything and style it, is a really big compliment. And those type of homes, yes, stay with me for a long, long time. I'm really proud of them.
Awesome. So, Alex, leading on from that, what's your favourite and what are your most challenging parts of doing this?
So the happiness and feedback of clients, I've had clients cry from happiness, and that is just absolutely the best part of the job. Working with them, selling is very emotional, and working through that with clients is absolutely the best part. I do also stalk the photographer for the photos more than anybody else, I think, because I want to see how the styling corresponds in the photography. The worst and or least favorite has nothing to do with clients. It's probably positions. I've had some very tricky places to get delivery trucks into. Working in Avon and Palm Beach, up private roads and private driveways. And there's been times where I've stood on a driveway and thought, I can't do this anymore. This is going to give me a heart attack, watching a truck become 20 centimetres to a 10-metre drop off. But yes, I mean, people who sell homes of 30 years where they've had their kids in the bath and their grandchildren in the bathroom and things like that, that's very emotional, and I feel that emotion. So it also sometimes, you go home and you feel like you're a part of that family for the day. So there's a mixture, and that can be really good and that can be really hard as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
If you could style your own house with the idea that it doesn't matter what it looks like because you're not going to sell it, you're going to stay there forever, and you didn't have to ask it, cooperate with your husband, would it be styled in the way that we assume it would, or would it be some mad coloured thing, or what would it look like?
No, I think
we were just talking about that.
Yes, I think everyone would probably be surprised if they walked into my own home. I've actually just done a little renovation at home, and one of my rooms is green on every single wall. So when I talk about things being neutrals, not so much, and that is styling with 100% my own interests in mind and nothing to do with selling. So, yes, lots of colour, lots of items. I love the saying, more is more and less is a bore. So that kind of goes against styling, which is minimal and spacious.
Well,
so, yeah.
I've seen a big surge in the trend. We had Marie Kondo and the whole, get rid of everything that doesn't spark joy. But now on the flip side, there does seem to be a growing trend in maximalism. And I must say, when that's done right, it's hard to nail it without it just looking like carnage. But when they nail it, it is pretty awesome.
We did have a very big trend of Scandi and then Japandi and things like that, which was quite minimalistic and clean lines and empty. And I would say more the trend is now at the moment is having those extra items, the lamps, the jars, the urns, the items like that throughout a home. So it has changed.
How do you balance because you've got a young family, does it just make your skin crawl when it's chaos, or do you leave that side of you at the door in regards to just how your own home looks and wanting it to look the way you like it versus?
People always say to me, how do you have so many things that aren't broken? And you just do. I have jars and urns and really beautiful statues everywhere, and somehow I've just avoided it. And I also say, if it makes you happy, put it in your home. And obviously, being a stylist, I love homewares, and they make me really happy. And I attend probably every homewares sale there is in Sydney, and if I'm not there in person, I'm there online. So I just think with homes, don't let children hold you back from having a beautiful home. And if something does get ruined, oh well. If there's a little stain, we'll work through it. We'll get it out. We can get a professional in to clean it. Have the thing you like. Buy the things you like.
Sounds like there's a good chance that if something falls, it's going to land on a cushion anyway, so it'll be fine.
That's right. That's right. If a cushion wasn't there, it should have been. So that's right.
I have another styling mystery.
Yes.
What's with the plastic artichokes, Alex? Plastic artichoke on like a coffee table. When you think about it, it's mad.
In a sense, does it? Well, you should know, Jackie, that I am a real girl. So I actually buy real lemons, real limes, and real artichokes. A word of warning to everyone out there: if you put real pineapples outside, possums will come and eat them. So bring them in at night. But for some reason, an artichoke just makes sense in a dining room, and a bowl of limes and lemons just makes sense in the middle of your dining room table. It looks fantastic. I will give a tip that using real brings an element of freshness into the house, which then corresponds not only with the photos, but when people walk through your home. Real flowers, real plants, and real fruit and vegetables work wonders.
Yeah, I think walking into an open home and picking up a plastic apple it's a bit weird.
Yes.
Another thing that we have great big debates on at BWM conferences, pineapples with their leaves. There are some people,
yes,
not me, who think that a pineapple with no leaves is appropriate for styling. What would you say to that?
Not. Absolutely not. Get out.
Thank you. And take your unleafy pineapple with you.
Does that mean you can't just throw some pineapple chunks on the side and you'll be all good?
No.
Chunks being thrown. Go choose a coconut maybe instead. That might work better for you. But fun is back in the olden days, I found this when traveling through southern states of America. They would put a pineapple out when you had a house guest stay with you. When you had a pineapple given to you in the morning, that was your sign to please leave the property.
Oh, I've actually got some house guests at the moment. I might have to go pineapple shopping.
Presumably, you're very sure of that when they start throwing pineapples at you rather than just giving it to you. Or if they've left them in the tin.
It's an escalating. What? Dave.
And
here's your tin of pineapples.
I would say feather-filled cushions are a dream. They are so much easier to style. Yes, they are a little bit more expensive. They're worth the cost because they just look better wherever they're placed. And just because a cushion's outside, don't use an outside cushion. Use a beautiful feather-filled cushion outside. No one's going to know. It's the photos. It's for styling. That's my other little is I never use an outdoor cushion.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Another mystery we've got is with the karate chopping of cushions. Any idea why we do this?
I don't know why we do it, but I'm addicted to it. For the perfect karate chop, you need to make sure that the feather is spread out throughout the cushion on every single corner and the exact same quantity before you chop. So turn your cushion upside down and get it perfect, or dispersion of feathers throughout the cushion, and then chop.
Excellent.
When you do your styling courses, do you get marked on the karate chop?
I think so. I think it was, the last exam. I tell you what, it's been a big day. It's really satisfying to walk around and karate chop some cushions.
Yeah.
I love watching, I feel like it's not that hard, to be honest, but then you get owners and they go in and they do this odd karate chop.
I must say I've gone through photos and thought, why didn't I correct that cushion? I can see that the karate chop is on 30% of one cushion, 70% of the other, and that mistake, and it really stays with me throughout the night. I wake up and sweat in the middle of the night thinking about it.
Did you karate chops in your dreams.
Yes.
That's awesome. I actually think that's a good place to leave it. What do you think, Dave?
Well, whether we put it in the pod or not, I want to know how to throw a throw.
Throw a throw.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, do it.
I will say, Dave,
Throw a throw.
I paid $1,500 to go to a very famous interior designer's house, and a part of that day was how to throw a throw. And basically, it's do whatever you want. The trends change. Some people like the fold. I hate the triangle. I like a very organic approach to the throw. Lots of ruffles. But what I'm going to say is the trend right now is don't use one throw on a bed. It has to be two. Sorry, everybody.
Get another throw.
There's more cushions and more throws. You need two throws, and they need to be really large. And they need to go from the edges of the doona on each side.
There you go.
And it needs to be two of them.
It is amazing how, because you said do whatever you want, it is amazing how sometimes you can try for 10 minutes to make it look good and then you just drop it and it looks great.
I know.
I think I've found a way that I tend to just say that always looks good, which is like a more of an organised ruffle. I think so much of it comes down to confidence, because I'll tell you what, the agents don't know how to throw the throws either.
No.
So if you go, oh no, I got this, I know how to throw a throw, this is the right way, just tell them it's the right way and everyone will think that looks right.
That's right. Often as well as if working with homes with throws, we're putting a throw somewhere to cover something. Just, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that to all the houses out there.
Yeah.
Don't start walking around lifting up the throws, because there's probably a stain underneath they're trying to hide on a chair or on a bed. So it's definitely, you need a large throw. It needs to be big. Yes.
It's good to know.
Yes.
That's been really, really interesting. I can't wait to see some of your photos soon, Dave, and see if you can finally get the throws right now that you've had a free lesson worth $1,500.
I'm going to go and practice my karate chops.
Yeah. No, this was awesome. Thank you, Alex. It's been an absolute pleasure. To our listeners, and you could be homeowners, photographers, anyone interested in hearing more about property styling and interior design or want to talk to Alex, you can go to her website, which is www.akwdesignandhome.com.au. We'll put a link in the notes. But yeah, Alex, thank you. That's been enlightening.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me today.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.